Israeli bombing of the Iranian embassy in Damascus on April 1, 2024. On December 25, Sayed Razi Mousavi, a top commander and senior advisor of the IRGC, was killed by an Israeli airstrike in the Sayyida Zainab area. On December 28, 11 leaders of the IRGC were killed in an airstrike targeting the Damascus International Airport, according to Saudi media. It was reported that the IRGC commanders were meeting high-ranking delegates at the time of the strike. On December 29, Iran executed 4 people for allegedly spying for the Mossad and arrested several others. On January 20, 2024, an airstrike killed 5 elite Iranian Revolutionary Guards in a building in Damascus. Iran blamed Israel. On January 29, Iran executed 4 people who were accused of planning to carry out a bomb plot ordered by Mossad against a factory producing military equipment. In February, it was reported that the IRGC has recruited British Shia Muslims visiting religious sites in Iran and Iraq to spy or carry out attacks on Jews and Iranian dissidents living in the UK. On February 14, explosions struck a natural gas pipeline in Iran, with an official blaming sabotage and terrorist action. On April 1, 2024, the Iranian consulate annex building adjacent to the Iranian embassy in Damascus, Syria, was struck by an Israeli airstrike, killing 16 people, including Brigadier General Mohammad Reza Zahidi, a senior Quds Force commander of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, and 7 other IRGC officers. On April 13, Iran retaliated against the attack with missile and drone strikes in Israel. On April 19, Israel launched a series of retaliatory missile strikes on Iranian military sites. Iranian officials have also reported explosions at military sites in Syria and Iraq. Iran is the 3rd largest producer in oil cartel OPEC, so there was concern about rising oil prices. Iranian supporters and alleged proxies. Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei and President Ebrahim Raisi meeting with Syrian President Bashar al-Assad on May 8, 2022. Iran and Syria are close strategic allies, and Iran has provided significant support for the Syrian government in the Syrian civil war, including logistical, technical, and financial support, as well as training and some combat troops. Iran sees the survival of the Syrian government as being crucial to its regional interests. The supreme leader of Iran, Ali Khamenei, was reported in September 2011 to be vocally in favor of the Syrian government. When the uprising developed into the Syrian civil war, there were increasing reports of Iranian military support and of Iranian training of NDF, National Defense Forces, both in Syria and Iran. Iranian security and intelligence services are advising and assisting the Syrian military in order to preserve Bashar al-Assad's hold on power. Those efforts include training, technical support, and combat troops. Thousands of Iranian operatives, as many as 10,000 by the end of have fought in the Syrian civil war on the pro-government side, including regular troops and militia members. In 2018, Tehran said that 2,100 Iranian soldiers have been killed in Syria and Iraq over the past 7 years. Iran has also sponsored and facilitated the involvement of Shia militias from across the region to fight in Syria, including Lebanese Hezbollah, Afghan Liwa Fatimiyan, Pakistani Liwa Zainabiyun, Iraqi Harakat al-Najaba, Kataib Said al-Shahada and Kataib Hezbollah, and Bahraini Saraya al-Mukhtar. Hezbollah has grown to an organization with seats in the Lebanese government, a radio and a satellite television station, programs for social development and large-scale military deployment of fighters beyond Lebanon's borders. The organization has been called a state within a state. Hezbollah is part of the March 8th alliance within Lebanon, in opposition to the March 14th alliance. Hezbollah maintains strong support among Lebanon's Shiite population, while Sunnis have disagreed with the group's agenda. Following the end of the Israeli occupation of South Lebanon in 2000, its military strength grew significantly, such that its paramilitary wing is considered more powerful than the Lebanese army. Hezbollah receives military training, weapons, and financial support from Iran, and political support from Syria. Hezbollah also fought against Israel in the 2006 Lebanon War. Hezbollah has been a major combatant in the Syrian civil war, helping to ensure the survival of the Iran-backed Assad government. Active support and troop deployment began in 2012, steadily increasing thereafter. Hezbollah deployed several thousand fighters in Syria and by 2015 lost up to 1,500 fighters in combat. Hezbollah has also been very active to prevent rebel penetration from Syria to Lebanon, being one of the most active forces in the Syrian civil war spillover in Lebanon. By March 2019, 1,677 Lebanese Hezbollah fighters had reportedly been killed in Syria. Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine.
Hamas, 2005-2011.
Between 2005 and 2011, Iran was one of the main funders and suppliers of Hamas. Israel estimates the Hamas brigades have a core of several hundred members who received military training, including training in Iran and in Syria before the Syrian civil war. In 2011, after the outbreak of the Syrian civil war, Hamas distanced itself from the Syrian government and its members began leaving Syria. Since 2012, Hamas ceased receiving any support from Iran due to Hamas support of the Muslim Brotherhood in Syria. In a speech for the spokesman of the Qassam brigades in 2014 on Hamas's 27th anniversary, he thanked Iran for 2005 to 2015. In 2008, Sudan and Iran signed a military cooperation agreement. The agreement was signed by Iran's Defense Minister Mostafa Mohammad Najjar and his Sudanese counterpart Abdulrahim Mohammad Hussein. In 2011, however, Sudan reduced its cooperation with Iran after the start of the Syrian civil war. In 2015, Sudan completely severed its ties with Iran by participating in the Saudi-led intervention in the Yemeni crisis on behalf of the Sunni Arab Alliance. Palestinian Islamic Jihad. Iran is a major financial supporter of the Islamic Jihad movement in Palestine, PIJ. Following the Israeli and Egyptian squeeze on Hamas in early 2014, PIJ has seen its power steadily increase with the backing of funds from Iran. Its financial backing is believed to also come from Syria. Popular Mobilization Forces. Israeli supporters and alleged proxies. Israel's closest military ally, the United States, has a long history of violence against Iran, including the August 1953 overthrow of the Mossadegh government by U.S. and UK covert operatives, and the decades-long U.S. support for the authoritarian rule of the Shah. The U.S. provided major military and other support to Saddam Hussein's Iraq for decades after Iraq attacked Iran, and in 1988, the United States launched Operation Praying Mantis against Iran, the largest American naval combat operation since World War II. The United States has military bases that virtually encircle Iran. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken did not rule out a military intervention to stop Iran from obtaining nuclear weapons. Saudi Arabia. While Iran is the world's main Shia Muslim-led power, Saudi Arabia sees itself as the leading Sunni Muslim power in what has been described as a Cold War, the Iran-Saudi Arabia proxy conflict, waged on multiple levels over geopolitical, economic, and sectarian influence in pursuit of regional hegemony, has been a major feature of Western Asia since 1979. American support for Saudi Arabia and its allies, as well as Russian and Chinese support for Iran and its allies, have drawn comparisons to the dynamics of the Cold War era, and the proxy conflict has been characterized as a front in what Russian Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev has referred to as the new Cold War. The rivalry today is primarily a political and economic struggle exacerbated by religious differences, and sectarianism in the region is exploited by both countries for geopolitical purposes as part of the conflict. Israel and Saudi Arabia do not have any official diplomatic relations. However, news reports have indicated extensive behind-the-scenes diplomatic and intelligence cooperation between the countries in pursuit of mutual goals against regional enemy Iran. The 2023 Israel-Hamas war had a significant impact on diplomatic efforts. Speculation arose that Iran was trying to sabotage relations between Israel and Saudi Arabia, with former head of research for Shin Bet Naomi Newman saying the attack could have been timed in part due to Iran's hopes to scuttle efforts to normalize relations between Israel and its Sunni rival. On October 9, Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Nasser Kanani denied claims of Tehran's involvement in Hamas's attack. On October 12, Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman discussed the Israel-Gaza situation with Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi. On October 13, Saudi Arabia criticized Israel for the displacement of Palestinians from Gaza and the attacks on defenseless civilians. On October 14, Saudi Arabia suspended talks on the possible normalization of relations with Israel. Azerbaijan. People's Mujahideen of Iran. In 2012, an NBC News story quoted two unnamed U.S. officials who stated that MEK was financed, trained, and armed by Israel in killing Iranian nuclear scientists. The MEK denied this claim. According to a New Yorker report, members of the Mujahideen-e-Khalq received training in the U.S. and Israeli funding for their operations against the Iranian government. The MEK denied this claim. International responses. Russian foreign policy in the Middle East during the early 2000s, in light of the Iran-Israel proxy conflict. After 2001, the government of Vladimir Putin intensified Russia's involvement in the region, supporting Iran's nuclear programs and forgiving Syria 73% of its $13 billion debt. According to March 2007 brief entitled Russia's New Middle Eastern Policy, Back to Bismarck? By Ariel Cohen, Institute for Contemporary Affairs, Syria was supplying Hezbollah with Russian weapons. In 2006, Israeli forces found evidence of the Russian-made Kornet-E and Medes-M anti-tank systems in Hezbollah's possession in southern Lebanon. The Russian response to accusations that it was supplying terrorist groups with weapons was an announcement, in February 2007, that Russia's military will conduct inspections of Syrian weapons storage facilities with the goal of preventing the weapons from reaching unintended customers. Predictably, such developments placed considerable strain on the already deteriorating relations between Russia and Israel. For several years, Russia has been attempting to engage in military cooperation with both Israel and Syria. However, the levels of cooperation with the two states are inversely related, and an escalation of arms sales to Syria can only damage the relationship with Israel. Russian-Syrian military cooperation has gone through numerous stages. High levels of cooperation during the Soviet era, which was virtually halted until 2005, and now Russia's attempt to balance its relationship with both Israel and Syria. However, Russia's recent eastward leanings might indicate that Moscow is prepared to enter a new stage in its military cooperation with Syria, even if this is to the detriment of its relationship with Israel. Israel-Russia relations improved after the Russian military intervention in Syria in September 2015. From then until July 2018, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Putin met a total of 9 times. Prior to and immediately after the 2016 United States presidential election, Israel began lobbying the United States to strike a deal with Russia over restricting the Iranian military presence in Syria in exchange for removing U.S. sanctions against Russia. In 2019, Russia rejected an Iranian request to buy S-400 missile defense system. Ruslan Pukov, head of the Center of Analysis of Strategies and Technologies in Moscow, said, "If Russia decides to provide Iran with S-400, it will be a direct challenge to Saudi Arabia and Israel, so it will be against Russia's own national interests."